Deshaun Watson is expected to be a member of the Cleveland Browns. Baker Mayfield has all the potential in the world, but he is not Deshaun Watson. And no disrespect at all to Baker Mayfield, but Deshaun Watson is, from every general manager and talent evaluator that I've spoken with, a pure top 5 quarterback. The Browns now have a franchise quarterback, and it is Deshaun Watson.
The Browns are getting worse. They're terrible.
If you ever want to watch a situation where a head coach has absolutely no say what's going on, it's happening in Cleveland.
Yeah, we're not changing quarterbacks. We need to play better. I need to coach better.
Cleveland right now might be the worst situation in pro sports.
Come on, man. Who's making the decisions over there?
How long does Stefanski have to stay with Deshaun Watson?
The ownership and the front office are going to double down because they made a mistake, so they're going to go, we want to make sure we screw everybody in Cleveland over.
Players-only meeting didn't work. Then they looked like on Sunday they were starting to turn on each other. Eventually they will turn on each other.
No. Because we know the analytics department has a big say in that team.
I'm talking to everybody in the building. You, Paul. You, Jimmy. You, Andrew. And, of course, Kev.
You can't run an offense because you got two guys that seem to be philosophically different on their offenses, running the offense at the same time.
You ruined a season. You ruined it. As a fan, I want you to know I'm done.
Don't need nothing but a good time. How can I resist? Ain't looking for nothing but a good time, and it don't get better than this. Don't need nothing but a good time. How can I resist? Ain't looking for nothing but a good time, and it don't get better than this. Don't get better than this.
Last week on this show, we tried out some optimism again, because after the Raiders game, I felt like there were some bright spots, particularly on the offensive side of the ball. Deshaun Watson had one of his best games yet, and I thought that there were going to be things that they could build off on and go into Washington and steal a win. However, I should have trusted the gut feeling that I've been having since week 1 when we created the Deshaun Watson doomsday clock. And that gut feeling was that Deshaun Watson was cooked, and it was just a matter of time before the bomb went off. The difficult part with this is that through his tenure, there have been really, really bright moments, but overall, just inconsistency across the board. We've passed around the blame from play calling to the offensive line to the run game to receiver play, and all of those subjects are legitimate areas of concern and deserve a ton of the blame as well. For example, early on, D'Onta Foreman was terrible in this game, and he cost Cleveland a chance at getting points on the opening drive. Like I said, all of the players and the coaches need to be held accountable for this putrid offensive showing. But it is clear when you get into the tape that Deshaun Watson was the worst aspect offensively of this game. And through 5 games, it is clear that at his best, Deshaun Watson is simply inconsistent. And regardless of what they say at the podium and how they defend him in the press, they are done with him. They have all played winning football together, and they know that Deshaun Watson is the one variable that helps them lose consistently. How bad was Deshaun Watson actually in this game? First of all, it should be noted that this was probably the best pass protection that Watson has had all year long. He really did have a lot of time to make good decisions from the pocket on a lot of plays. But even in these moments when he was hanging in the pocket with nobody in his face and time to make the right decision and throw, he was missing his receivers in stride. This sail route to Amari Cooper should have been a 20-yard gain and a first down at a minimum. Instead, it's overthrown and out of reach and in the turf. In the instances where he would decide that he wasn't going to try and take a shot downfield from a clean pocket, he would drop his eyes, miss his check downs, and just try to run for a first down himself. He got back to mistiming his drop, getting to receivers late and allowing defensive backs who were beat on their route to recover and break up passes. And he was just straight up not seeing receivers. Numbers can be misleading because he didn't throw an interception, but that doesn't mean that he was making responsible decisions from the pocket. His play is just straight up blindness matched with overcompensation. On this play, you have a safety rotating down as a robber, plus another defensive back and safety over top of this route. Watson gets fooled by the blitzing backer thinking that the middle's vacated and almost throws an interception. Sure, a lot of quarterbacks might be fooled like this and have been fooled like this. We're not asking him to be perfect, but there's no positive momentum or play to counterbalance the bad mistakes that he's making week in and week out. Again, in moments where he had to scramble and move within the pocket, his eyes remained down at the ground. And it's mind-boggling because last week against the Raiders when he was scrambling, his eyes were up and he was looking to make plays, and he did a lot of the time. This week, though, he's staring down at the grass and not looking upfield at his receivers, playing completely scared and shell-shocked. On this third down, they catch the Commanders in a perfect situation. They're running a mesh concept, and the Commanders are in man coverage. David Njoku runs his rub perfectly, completely legal, and frees up Amari Cooper underneath, breaking towards a wide open field. If he gets the ball in this instance, it is an enormous catch and run because the defenders on the backside are being cleared out by the receivers and they're locked in because it's man coverage. They're completely blind to the throw underneath them. Instead of hitting this, Watson just runs with his eyes down, misses the open man, and gets tackled for a minimal gain. And for the Watson Warriors out there, if you're watching this, of course, in an ideal world, you're throwing this from a clean pocket and you don't have to do it on the run. That isn't the reality of football, though. And these were the simpler plays that Watson used to pull out of his hat on a consistent basis, not bi-weekly. What's craziest is when they dumb down the play calls and give him a mirrored concept and he still can't read through it properly. On this one, they're going to run double slants on both sides, a mirrored concept. And it is clear from the pre-snap leverage from the defenders who are soft and the defenders who are tight that the throw is to Amari Cooper on the outside. Elijah Moore has a press corner right up on him. He's going to run his slant underneath and clear out the window for the outside slant because additionally, the corner over top of Amari Cooper is almost 10 yards off and is giving what looks like a cover 3 zone look. Does he throw it to his number 1 receiver and best route runner against soft coverage? Of course not. He tries to force it into Elijah Moore, who's getting pressed on the inside slant. And this is one that is so bad that it has me wondering, did he do this on purpose? Is he purposely trying to not give Amari Cooper the ball because he's dropped balls in the past and because he's clearly starting to get upset with Watson? That's how bad it really is. And look at all of the receivers' body language after the play. Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore, David Njoku, everyone is bugged and they do not like playing with this guy. After this play, he follows it up by trying to chuck a late corner ball into double coverage to Amari Cooper that has zero chance of being a completion. And he passes up the backside dig that is wide open, which he could have gone to if he came off of this throw and worked through his progressions. After JOK's forced fumble, the Browns get a chance. They get a chance to get back in the game and just pull into a 2-touchdown deficit. They open up by going to Amari Cooper 2 straight plays on a hitch and then a deeper slant. They get the ball to the 2-yard line. And the next sequence perfectly encapsulates everything that the Browns offense has been so far in 2024. Discipline issues, bad quarterback play, bad receiver play, and bad coaching. First, they take a false start, moving the ball back to the 7-yard line. Now they can't just run with Deontay Foreman and try and push him in. Then the next play, Watson completely misses Jerry Jeudy on a climb route, which would have been a good chance at being a touchdown. Then on the next play, Watson evades the pass rush, makes something out of nothing, delivers a good catchable ball to Jerry Jeudy, but Jeudy drops it. Then on third down, he has another chance to make what definitely would have been a difficult throw, layering it over top of the defenders and before the end line in the end zone to either Amari Cooper or Jerry Jeudy. So then it's fourth down. And now the coaches send the wrong personnel and there's a miscommunication and there's 12 guys in the huddle. Watson walks off the field. That was a big controversy in and of itself. At the end of the day, he makes the right call, but the way he did it, the body language, all of that is just terrible. And they have to kick a field goal. That has been the Browns' brand of offensive football in 2024. Undisciplined, missing open chances, dropping touchdowns, and overall just shooting themselves in the foot. It is not all on Watson here, but it is clear that he is not elevating the people around him. You can point to Jerry Jeudy dropping the touchdown and go, oh, well, switching quarterbacks isn't going to help them catch the ball. Sure, there's truth to that. However, there's also a chance that a different quarterback takes a chance on the other two open shots that they had to try and score a touchdown through the air on that possession. Then the final moment, the final nail in the coffin of the Deshaun Watson experience happened on this play right here. Once again, Watson gets good protection. He has two open receivers, and Jerry Jeudy is wide open for a minimum of a 20-yard gain. Instead, Watson doesn't see it, runs around, holds on for it too long, gets hit in the back by Bobby Wagner, coughs it up, and the defense recovers the fumble in midair. If stuff like this happened once per week, it would be enough of an argument for a coach to bench a quarterback. But this stuff happens multiple times a half, not always leading to a turnover, but the boneheaded plays, the bad decisions, the blindness is so consistent. It's happening at least once almost every possession. Guys, this guy is done. For all we know, he'll go out against Philadelphia and he'll have a game like he had against the Raiders where it's easy to point the finger at the other players and say, you know, he deserves another chance because he was the best out of the worst on this day. But it is never going to get better than inconsistent. Decent one week, horrible the next. Good one week, really bad the next. The issue is so layered because the confidence and the mental issues are very apparent, but then there's the physical limitations after the shoulder surgery, after the injuries, after X, Y, and Z, the beating that he's taken so far this season. But now there are whispers from within the locker room, from reliable sources, who are insinuating that he might not be as locked in as he needs to be as this team's leader and franchise quarterback. On the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, they had Aditi Kinkhabwala on, and she essentially said, without actually stating it, you have to read between the lines a little bit here, that Watson is not preparing and taking this job as serious as he needs to be. He's not as locked in as he needs to be.
I think that your talent can only get you so far, and that at the end of the day, what separates you, what distinguishes you, is your ability to work, your grind, your willingness to work, your approach. You've added a lot to the offense. It takes a lot of extra work. And perhaps Deshaun has put that in. I don't want to disparage or malign anybody's approach. I just think that it takes a really strong.
Yeah, we got you.
And honestly, that makes sense when you look at some of his decision making, when they're dumbing things down to the point of being a middle school level playbook, and he can't execute it right or read easy defenses the right way. When things like this start to leak, it's usually because they have been known for a while. They've been circulating within the locker room, within the media, who's very tight to the organization, but they just haven't had the confidence or the public support to be able to say something like that without being blacklisted. This is yet another sign that, guys, Deshaun Watson is done. This experiment is over. It is just a matter of when, not if. And if it doesn't happen soon, the mutinies that are going to start being created are going to be irreparable. And we've been very fair on this channel. Like we said a million times, and that we point out every week, the offensive line and the run game is garbage. Just from a pure talent perspective, look at Jerome Ford sometimes, man. Later on in the game, he had some good runs. That means nothing. Washington was checked out at that point. They were going to let them run all day long. Early on, he's cutting into tackles rather than just running straight ahead and getting additional yardage. Deontay Foreman was not good today either. He looked blind out there. Again, going back to that 4th and 1, he's slipping off of an arm tackle as a 240-pound running back. Zach Zinter, the rookie guard, you got to give him some grace because he's stepping in for a Pro Bowl Wyatt Teller. He's got a lot of work to do, but he got his ass kicked in this one. And then other guys like DeJuan Jones are just getting beat like a drum, completely regressing from where they were last year. And then the great and powerful Jed Wills, who actually at times looked serviceable, but then when he's bad, it's so many things combined. It's his effort on the play and then after the fact with his body language, looking at his quarterback on the ground after his guy just made the play and not even offering to help him up off the ground. You have no standard of execution or toughness or brotherhood being upheld on this roster because the guy who's getting paid the most and is playing the poorest is not being held accountable. Deshaun Watson continues to have bad performances to limit the scope of what this offense can do potentially and faces no repercussions. So why should anyone give effort? That is what you are seeing right now. That is why receivers aren't running hard out of their breaks. That is why they're dropping balls. That's why this O-line isn't blocking hard for this guy. There's a complete disconnect. They know he doesn't deserve to be behind the center. So effort, execution, toughness, it means nothing to them. Thank God that hasn't completely bled into the defense. I thought that early on, the defense actually played really, really well. They did everything that I outlined in the Patreon game preview in terms of, containing Daniels, not allowing him to play from a clean pocket. They were aggressive. They sent pressure. They made plays. They created turnovers. They weren't perfect, but they held them to a lot of field goals, even when they're in the red zone. Later on, as time goes on, when you are clear that you're never going to recapture a lead because your offense is this bad, then at that point, that's when the dam breaks and it just becomes an unstoppable rush of missed tackles and long runs and broken plays. It's definitely not what you want to see, but it's clear. When the games are tight, the defense shows up and they play hard. But back to the offense and the team in general, there's a lot of calls for Kevin Stefanski to be fired. This is why Deshaun Watson needs to go first, though. Kevin Stefanski has essentially worked with every quarterback he has ever coached, from Baker Mayfield to Nick Mullins to PJ Walker and Joe Flacco. The one consistent variable in bad play and bad offensive showings is Deshaun Watson. So before you throw away a two-time coach of the year and the person who is the best coach the Browns have had since Bill Belichick, we need to see if Deshaun Watson is that variable that's sinking everything down. If they get rid of him and they still can't find answers, then sure, then there's a conversation to be had about pulling Stefanski from this thing. I also think there are a lot of questions about Stefanski in general, in terms of just him as an emotional leader, as an alpha male, to be able to step in front of a crew of professional football players and actually lead them. That is a whole nother thing. But we've seen success. We've seen winning football with other quarterbacks. We need to see Deshaun Watson out of the picture to see if they can get back to what they've been doing successfully in the past. But at this point, it's going to be at least another week before we see that, because this is what I think's happening. And I think this is what everyone thinks too. Jimmy Haslam and Paul DePodesta are standing there saying, look, at the end of the day, we made these decisions. We don't want to be embarrassed by it. Kevin, you've made everyone work. You can make this work. Keep going. Keep trying. We don't want to look like the dummies who have been meddling from the boxes on game day. However, now with Robert Saleh getting fired from the New York Jets, this is going to open the floodgates for other teams firing and looking to hire new guys. It's like when someone reaches on a quarterback in the draft, then it becomes a run to start scooping them up before they're gone. I think the same thing happens with coaching. And the Browns have some valuable assets on their side of the ball. I would be shocked to see someone like Mike Vrabel get hired to go coach the Jets within this season. But if teams start to get desperate, you might start fielding calls. And if you're the Browns organization, do you want to let that guy walk, or do you want to make the change now if you feel like you do need a coaching change? Again, none of this is ideal, but that is the mess that this season is turning out to be, because they have not done the basic things right, and they have not made their players accountable to upholding a winning standard. The time for change was in quarter 3 of week 5, but we're going to have to wait to see what happens in week 6. If you guys want to hear more about this situation or get our in-depth game previews, which are just as good as these recaps, make sure you join the Patreon. Videos like this can't be monetized because I'm trying to give you guys the best video possible using music and footage that makes it so I can't monetize. So consider joining to support the channel. Additionally, we are running a poster pre-sale. It closes on October 18th. So if you want one of these beautiful pieces of art created by yours truly, you can go to optimisticfanclub.com. The link is below for that and for Patreon. Shipping is free on those, so go get them while you still can. And guys, please let me know what you think. What changes do you think need to be made? At this point, this is a dark time in the season. The time for optimism is gone if Deshaun Watson is still the quarterback, because we are never going to get better than inconsistent. We need to see if this problem has infected the locker room and the team in general, because if it has, this team is going to turn into a cellar. They're going to be hacking off the limbs to try and save the body, but Watson has got to go first. Thank you guys for watching. Please make sure that you show up on Sunday night. Those live shows have been booming, and I am sure that this Sunday night, it is going to be a very interesting time. So thank you guys. We'll see you soon.